Well, good evening, everybody. I am Mia Mason. I am part of the coalition No Dem Left Behind. I am running for Congress in Maryland's 1st Congressional District, and I'm here tonight with Gary Wegman. So please, Gary, introduce yourself.
Mia, thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show tonight. We're part of a coalition of Dems nationwide. We call ourselves No Dem Left Behind, and we're here to talk about issues in rural America that are on everybody's minds, and I'm happy to be part of the conversation.
I know, and you're our newest member to the coalition, so congratulations to you as well.
I was happy that Hassan reached out to us, and we reached out to you first, but it took a little while to get us here, but no problem. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, we're quite a busy bunch. We have to make a lot of phone calls and do things across the nation, and we're supporting 10 or 12 different candidates. But that only makes us stronger when we grow and unite and try to flip all of our districts to make them blue. So where are you at? What district are you running for?
I'm running in the 9th Congressional District in Pennsylvania, which is kind of east central Pennsylvania. A lot of rural character. Agriculture is obviously the biggest industry in our district. Very homogeneous district, but spreads out over 8 counties, so a lot of territory to cover. What I'm amazed at, Mia, is how similar all the other candidates from Georgia, West Virginia, Maryland, Florida, all of us have very similar issues with our constituents' concerns. And this is America. Our current leadership loves to paint things in a framing of us versus them. And I never see that when I'm out campaigning. It's just us. We're not dividing ourselves. We're going to have to find solutions that make good common sense and put everybody back to work with good living wage jobs. So I'm not into the politics of division. I don't think anybody else on our No Dems Left Behind group is. And I'm just happy to be part of it.
That's amazing because, like, in my district, we have, poultry producers like Purdue, where they're seeing this big increase because of the pandemic, and people being sick and, having to take it back home to, their family, and then they can't, send their kids to school. And it's just a big issue. People are making a decision these days between their job, their health care, their paycheck, child care, or basically the need to go get groceries. And it's, something our constituents aren't, taking action on. They believe in just straight up reopening everything without taking a look at the science, the data, and other things. And to break into the news, I'm baffled by what President Trump is doing today. He says that he's now going to wear a mask. What do you think about that?
Well, it obviously makes good sense, and leadership should come from the top, and you have to lead with good ideas, and a mask is a great idea for the pandemic at the present. The thing that we don't have in America, and this baffles me, Mia, for 6 months we've been at this now, or at least 4, okay? And we don't have real-time testing. And that's the big problem, because you go get a test, and if you have to wait, the national average, I think they put it at somewhere around 3 days, but there's people who have to wait a week before they get their results. How are we going to contact trace for a week behind people? I want to see our businesses open. I want to see schools go back live in the fall too. But to do that, we've got to depress this virus, and to do that, it involves wearing a mask. And I think our president finally had it sink in that if he wants his base to be able to keep a vibrant economy, they're going to have to wear masks, because we don't have an alternative at present to be able to do that. So I'm optimistic that we can be much stronger this fall if we can get everybody to play by the same rules, and that means wearing a mask and social distancing and doing common sense things like not congregating in close quarters with large numbers.
I completely agree with you. And that's why we are running as a coalition called No Dem Left Behind. So we're going to take a quick break, but right now we want you to take 2 minutes, and go to the website you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen and join. And we'll be right back. Well, welcome back, everybody. Everybody needs a quick drink because you know what? You have to wear that mask. It's super important. And I was listening to the radio today coming home from, Hartford and Harvard to Grace. We were taking some beautiful pictures out there on the waterfront. And I was listening to another, stop me in my tracks. I heard Donald Trump saying, I think vote by mail is going to win the election, which means that he's going to lose because we vote by mail. And I'm like, I've been advocating for vote by mail. So I guess vote by mail works. And my governor here in Maryland is completely against vote by mail. How are things going in your state with vote by mail?
I am so proud of Pennsylvania. We passed Act 77 in the fall of 19, prior to the whole pandemic, allowing vote by mail with no fault mail-in ballots. So you didn't have to request an absentee ballot and justify that you were handicapped or that you weren't going to be in town for the election. If you wanted to vote by mail, no questions asked, you could do it. You can ask for the ballot online. You could do it from home. It's so much safer. Bia, we were having this conversation previously. We get our passports through the mail.
Yeah.
And we trust the nation to give us our identification cards.
I get me tweak in the mail. Yeah.
Exactly. So why voting by mail is an issue? I fully trust the counties that process our voters' data, and I don't have any doubt that they will do what is necessary to make sure that this upcoming election is done fairly and honestly. The thing that America's got to get prepared for is you're not going to have Chet Huntley and David Brinkley come on at the end of the election. Now, I'm really dating myself by putting those two names out there. But you get what I'm saying. You're not going to have Stephen Colbert be able to tell you who won the election on November 3rd. It's going to take 2 weeks until all the mail-in votes are counted. So people are just going to have to chill, relax, listen to the media, have a frenzy. But we're going to have to wait until we know for certain when people certify their county boards of elections as to what the actual results are.
And that's November 13th, if you didn't know that, because that's when it happens in my state when they actually, finalize all of the counting of the ballots and everything else. And it's quite an interesting process because our governor has decided to do an application to get your ballot. We didn't have to do it for the primary, but now everybody in the entire state is going to get an application. It's going to get mailed to them. And then if we want our ballot, we send it back. And then the state will then process that application. And then we will get our ballot that we will request. Marylanders, request your ballot. It's simple to do. Vote. Do it safely at home.
That it's such a process and it's such a waste of time and more importantly, a waste of everybody's money.
And the employees too, because it puts them in health risk.
If the state government would mail all registered voters their ballot, it comes to you in the mail. They could bulk mail to everybody at a very low cost, and It would be so much cheaper and such less delay and less confusion. Everybody got it. Hey, you want to go to the polling station and vote live? You don't have to mail it in. Okay? But you have your ballot ahead of time. Study your candidates. Go to their websites. Learn about what they stand for, what their policies are, and maybe get a little more information. This is a great means of getting more information on candidates.
And the best way that they can do that is continue to look at the bottom of their screen right now and look. Go to NoDemLeftBehind.com. It's coming up, I guarantee it. And the thing you'll learn is that a lot of our ideals are alike, like for the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, also healthcare, like the CARES Act. And this week we're hoping to get the HEROES Act. And most importantly, we are fighting, like what we've been talking about already, for the Voters' Right Act to be reauthorized. It's been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk for 200 days. It is time for them to act on it. I mean, do you think it's important for us to have voting rights?
Mia, it boggles my mind that the GOP allows McConnell to get away with some of this stuff. Voting Rights Act, come on, this is America. Let's put this out there and give everybody access to the ability to cast their vote. That's the most fundamental right that our founding fathers fought for. And we're going to sit on that for 200 days? Now we've lost...
Yeah, it doesn't need to happen.
We lost John Lewis last weekend, who spent a lifetime trying to advocate for simple dignity of this piece of legislation. I applaud the people who have suggested renaming this in his honor. But it's not just about an honorarium. It's about doing the right thing. Let's get this passed. It's a good idea. We should be supporting good ideas.
Exactly. And speaking of honorariums, we have the CARES Act. It's there for those who are our healthcare workers. And then we have the HEROES Act there for our heroes. I mean, how has Pennsylvania benefited from the CARES Act?
Well, real interesting timing that you asked this question, because just today our Governor Wolf passed an executive order that's going to allow essential workers to apply for additional $1,200 of pay in reward for their risking their lives, essentially, and themselves during this period of time that we've had this pandemic without really any good controls as to how to fight it. It comes at a good timing, because what the governor is going to do is he's going to use monies that were put forth in the CARES Act, but there was provisions nationwide, I think, for $600 of additional pay to people on unemployment. Well, now if you worked in the essential sector, and we're talking about people in food processing, people in food retail, janitorial services, security services.
That's a big coverage.
Not just healthcare, but people who had to work, people in transportation, your bus drivers, your
truck drivers who have been going cross country during this entire time and have been doing it nonstop.
Yeah, but in Pennsylvania, they're going to be able to apply for $1,200 right as the CARES Act funding runs out. This will go into place for the next 2 months' time, so it's a great benefit to people to help get them through.
So the CARES Act ends, what, the 25th of this month, right?
Of July, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's coming up. That's 4 days.
Well, I'll tell you this. A lot of people in my community around here are in fear. They're in shock because they're going to be losing their home. They've received their notice to vacate the property because the jig is up. They're being told that, you know what, if you don't pay, you need to leave. And that should be extended through the HEROES Act, signed by the president before the 25th, so that people still have a home. Especially if they're renting a home or renting an apartment. And, people are very, very behind in their financials because they were let go. Their employers and their businesses are no longer there. According to Yelp, earlier in the week, they said 30% of all businesses in America will cease to exist. And I find that very hard to absorb. But when you take a look at it and you drive down the road, you see businesses that the signs aren't there anymore. The parking lots are empty. And we're in phase 2 of reopening. People are going to work and people are trying to find jobs. And they can't even get the unemployment system to work here in our state. And it's baffling that we have to go rally and fight for this right that we have, and then be told that the state doesn't have any money for it because they don't vote for the HEROES Act, they don't vote for this, they don't vote for that. And it's all sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. So if anything, people actually need to get their butt in gear in 2020 to vote him out and vote out our red Republicans in our district so that we can properly represent them. And
that's why we're having this conversation here, because it makes no sense. These are people that are suffering at no fault of their own. I advertise, make no qualms about the fact that I'm a 5th generation farmer, and part of our business is a farm to table restaurant that we put forth. I also have some wine grapes, so we make some Pennsylvania wines, which, believe it or not, it shows very well. We've always had a good history of fruit growing in Pennsylvania, but winemaking skills always went to California or the Finger Lakes or whatever. But now we're
Virginia,
or Virginia has great wine crops. But we're growing good fruit up here. But our restaurant business is down to 25% of what we normally do. We don't have near the clientele that can come because we're only allowed 25% occupancy indoors. Outdoors, it's been 95-degree heat and humidity. So our business model is hurting and way down. And so the employees that feed off of this, as you said, through no fault of their own, are really struggling. So it makes no sense to me. You know, if the GOP wants to have a conversation about how we can do this differently, let's have a conversation. But let's not have the conversation next week. Let's have it a month ago or right after the CARES Act was passed. This type of stuff doesn't need, it's not rocket science. It doesn't need all this delay. It needs to have a willingness to talk about good ideas, real issues, and real solutions.
I completely agree. So let's take a break. Give people an opportunity to sign up tonight, become a No Dem Left Behind ambassador to basically showcase the work that we do and make that fight happen for us in DC. What do you say about that? You think it's a good thing?
Amen. It happened.
All right, let's do that. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It's Mia and good to meet you. All right, hey everybody across the country. I've had a busy weekend. I was out there, hot, muggy, sunny, and I wore a mask. It took a long time for the president to wear a mask. We didn't knock doors. We put things on their front porch. We gave them the literature. We talked to the Ring doorbell. And we asked them to vote. So Gary, what did you do last weekend?
Well, as you did, sitting right next to my personal computer here is my mask, and when I leave here, it goes on, and everywhere I go, I wear it. I'm a lucky individual. Well, I don't know how to say it that way, but I've been a practicing dentist for 36 years. I've lived behind a mask for 40 years because of 4 years in dental school. So for me to wear a mask 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day at practice if I work, and then to wear it wherever else I go, it's just a force of habit for me and not an issue. But I was at a Black Lives Matter event in Palmerton, Pennsylvania, which is a small town that's really trying to get its bearing again. It was an industrial town 40 years ago, and it's trying to reinvent itself. And what really impresses me, Mia, is the youth of America get it. They understand, there was a whole contingent of people that were whipped up by the media to come and push back against this Black Lives Matter movement. And their modus operandi, whatever you want to call it, was that all lives matter. Why are you just focusing on Black Lives Matter? And what the public should acknowledge is, of course, all lives matter, but all lives are not equally at risk. And that's why our communities of color, our BIPOC communities, are saying, look at us, look at what the injustice and the inequities of society is doing to our communities. And so I was really proud of the youth because they were the main engine drivers of this particular weekend's demonstration, and some of the others that I've been to also. And I'll tell you, to be honest, I go to listen to all sides. I have to represent everybody, as you do, Mia.
Yeah.
And we want the people watching this tonight to understand that this is what we have to do. If we're going to represent, then we have to go, and I go to listen. I want to hear what the issues are and how people are having a conversation about our public safety strategies, because that's what we've got to have, is to have that conversation and reinvent ourselves.
I agree. And speaking of reinventing ourselves, I tell you, a lot of comedians around here are very lame. In fact, you brought up Stephen Colbert to show your age, and I was like, I used to watch his show, but his at-home shows aren't that great. And in fact, I love, The Daily Show and Susan B. I forget her name. I apologize to you. Chelsea Handler, Ellen once in a while. And then, of course, magically, Sarah Cooper. I mean, like, cognitive test and the greatest ever? I mean, wow. And what do you think of Sarah Cooper when you hear her name?
Double wow. I mean, when you watch what she can do, okay, it's very impressive. I think everybody needs to get an education and tune in with us on Thursday a week, because it's going to be quite a
Wait a minute. You said this Thursday, right?
Is it this Thursday?
Yeah, it is this Thursday. It's this Thursday at 8 p.m. at the link below. No Dumb Left Behind.
Okay. All right.
They can sign up to watch Sarah Cooper and us, both of us, you and I, and others, as we chat with Sarah Cooper and make fun of you-know-who.
Are you sure they can sign up? I thought I heard we were sold out.
Oh, if they are, they get to watch it just how you are watching it with me, because guess who gets to do that job?
Ta-da!
Yes.
Live stream it, huh?
That's right. This is what we do to make sure that everyone is successful. So make sure that you join in again. And if you need to find me, you can go to No Dumb Left Behind and find out, or you can go to miadmason.us or follow me at Mia4MD. Gary, tell us how we can get a hold of you.
No, Gary Wegman for Congress, spelled F-O-R. GaryWegmanforCongress.com is my website, and at Gary Wegman on Facebook, or Dr. Gary Wegman on Twitter. And Dr. Wegman has been so focused and jazzed about everything he's done that he forgot that it's the end of the month already, and we have no Dems left behind on this Thursday. I just forgot that where we're at here in the calendar of events.
Well, at least you're not saying no and not showing up. My Dr. Representative Andy, well, I'm not going to finish saying his name. He's not a doctor, but he normally says no and doesn't show up. So hopefully everybody else shows up and watches us as we're hanging out with Sarah Cooper this Thursday at 8 p.m. with No Dumb Left Behind. So Gary, Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Glad to be here, Mia. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Into our future we shall go. Have a great night, everybody.
Now.
I'm Ian Mason. I'm running for Congress. Our voters are at the helm in 2020 because our education has failed us. Our infrastructure has failed us. With your driving force, we can fix that, especially in our healthcare, because your vote actually matters and you have the choice in 2020. I'm Ian Mason, and I approve this message.
Back to family life there. So I'm going to get home myself.